would be just a tragedy.
Woo!
Mark, what I want you to think about just a second here is competition, because I mean you're an athlete, you were an athlete, and competition is.
He was a hockey player. You said an athlete. Like baseball.
Baseball. You know what? Someday you might be able to play a major sport.
Or basketball.
All right, we won't go. Competition. All right, competition is important, and.
You guys want to fight right now?
How do you instill that competitive spirit in people? How do you get people to want to compete? For example, like getting promotions and doing things and going to Boca and getting them to the convention and all those things, because let's face it. I mean the everyday world out there. Okay,
that's right.
The only way they don't compete. They compete for a spot in the lunchroom, or they compete for a spot, on the freeway. They don't compete for, the big things like we do. And so how do we get people engaged in that competition and focused on that? What are some of your ideas on that?
Thanks for bringing it up. It's you have to talk about it. And for all you watching and here in the room, if you have anyone on your team, you have to have the courage to want to inspire them to be more than they can be. Here's the hard part. When you're not doing much yourself, you feel not worthy enough to challenge somebody else. But you can't worry about that. Somebody wants you to push them. Somebody wants you to encourage them, but they're never going to ask you. Rusty, I remember sending my first thank you note to a new recruit, a welcome team note, and I almost never mailed it because I said to Sandy, what the heck they want a note from me for? I'm a nothing, I'm a nobody. I don't even know if I'm doing this myself, even though I was full-time and committed to the business, right? Because I was in the mode, you're talking about quitting 10 million times a minute. And so, but I'll never forget when that guy said to me, Rusty, when I showed up to his house 2 days later to pick him up for an appointment, first thing out of his mouth was, hey, I got your note, thanks a lot. And that changed me from that day, remembering what Art said, that you can never say enough good to people, right? And you can't base it on, well, am I kicking butt on the scoreboard, then I can send notes or encourage people or challenge them? No, you've got to do it right now. It's a natural thing in all of us to be competitive. I talk to people all the time that when we were kids and there was a group of kids here and the swings are 40 yards away and there's 3 swings and 5 kids and somebody else swings, everybody was beating on each other and tripping each other trying to get to the 3 open swings. It's an inherent thing we're born with. Yep. What Rusty just nailed down perfectly is the world beats it out of us over time. And part of Primerica is we're not changing anything. We're just what human beings are all made of. We want to get better. We want to win. We want to see other people win. And if we don't talk about that, we're missing it. Richard got a big dose of inspiration today. Rusty just got competition going by calling Richard a puddle, right? But that's competition. Because he came in the back and he had to have a water because his throat was parched because he was like miscombobulated from it. But see, do you challenge your trainees to say, great, you got 3 appointments, but I know you can do 6. Hey, great, you did your close, congratulations, now I know you can do another more. Hey, you're this close to your promotion, and I know there's only 3 days left, but I've seen careers made in 3 days. Come on, man, you can do it. See, that's what the competition's about, is just to always be the person that's pushing people past what even you think they're capable of doing, to lay it out there, to put it out there. Listen, in sports teams, right now there's the NFL draft on. There's teams that are drafting players to try to get in the playoffs because they didn't make the playoffs last year. You know what every one of those teams are doing at their first team meeting at the beginning of this season? They're going to talk about going to the daggum Super Bowl, even if they were never in the playoffs.
Amen.
So you got to stop being realistic about where your business is at and shoot for the moon, because like Sandy, my wife, says, it's better to aim for the moon and miss it than aim for a skunk and hit it. Right?
Sandy, we always knew you were smarter than Mark. Brendan, what I want you to talk about just is, obviously you're a builder, and what are the important things, again, the builder's mindset, what are some of the things that you as an individual, when you understood that your obligation was to build a business within a business, and you have to build successful people, and then you have to teach those people to do the same thing. I mean, how did you approach that? How did you attack that? How did you develop your system? I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, I think, you know, in a lot of ways we're inherently born with certain characteristics, but like Mark was saying, you know, it gets beat out of us most of the time, and hopefully somewhere along the way somebody looks at us and says, hey, I think you can be special, and I'm going to help you be that person. That was Art Williams in my life. So how did you build your business? I mean, how did you develop the mindset, and what did you do in terms of putting the things together in your head, you know, to eventually get it out there into the team and transfer that whole thinking to the field staffs and the, you know, Brandon Neals and all those great team leaders you have. How did you do that?
Well, I think what I think we've done a good job at it, is when I got in the business, you know, in the beginning I didn't believe Chris Howard. He said he made $30,000 a month. I was one of the most skeptical, verge of cynical people you've ever met. And so I just didn't believe it. So when he came over to my house the first night, it was probably the worst primary appointment I've ever seen. As far as how badly I treated him. I was just not a nice, I was the nightmare client, right? And so he didn't even get close to getting a check from me, even though he'd been to Hopkins a lot of times at that point already. But I walked him out to his car, and I bet he's just driving a rusted out piece of junk, you know? And then this guy's just, he's full of it. So I drive him out there, and he's got a new Mercedes. I go, I wonder how you got that. Must have been inherited or something. So then I went to his office, and he said, he's showing me numbers. And so he said he made $30,000 a month. I said, I need to see the numbers. I need to see some paychecks, you know. So he showed me, by then they had a big stack of the stubs. And then it just blew my mind that this guy was making $30,000 a month. And so that's amazing. So I had to get my head around how does a person do that. So I got the leaders bulletins out, and I go, how does he make $30,000? I started to draw it out. And after I drew it out, I go, he's not that good. It's amazing. He's got a couple, 3 regional leaders, and they're doing, this regional's doing 10, 12, this one's doing 10, 15, and next minute he's got a $60,000 base shop. Then he had a couple RVPs, and I added them up. I go, this is a handful of people he's really got as directs. And I think a lot of people that come in and they see a person like Chris Howard out there, and in their mind, they conjure up in their mind, this person is way greater than they put this person on way too big of a pedestal.
That's right.
And
Totally right.
so what I try to do is I try and show people, try and get their head around, they got to wrap their head around it. And so when I help them understand the numbers. I go, you know, you may think we've done all these amazing things, but hey, I've been in the business 20 years. You realize I don't think I have 20 producing people, I don't have 20 people a month that are producing direct to me. That means I haven't even produced one producing direct per year. I mean, nobody could be that bad. I mean, if you worked at this thing, you're telling me you could be worse than me? I mean, so I kind of reduce, I get them to believe in that we're not something that they are not.
Right.
We're not, you know.
You're not untouchable.
Right.
Right. That's a great
so
point.
people think that they don't have the skills or the talent or the endurance. I go, if you can show up at a job from 9 to 5, 5 days in a row, you have better work ethic than I do, because I would be done by Wednesday. I would quit. You know?
Definitely worked out to be the plan.
No, I had a job once, and I almost quit at noon that day. And I thought, you know, I'd begged for the job the day before, and so now I better stick with it at least through the whole day. And so at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I informed the guy that employed me. I go, I just want to let you know, I don't have a green card yet, and so technically I'm an illegal, and there's a major fine for employers that. So he goes, I don't know if you really want me to come back tomorrow. He goes, no, until you get that green card, maybe you should. And I was out there, I can't believe that people do that all day, every day. I felt so claustrophobic for that day, I couldn't believe it. And so if I see a person that's been at a job 5 years and they've showed up about every single day, I go, you've got what it takes. If you can get yourself out and go for a lousy $2,000 to $3,000 a month, you've obviously got something I don't have, you know.
Right.
So I do that, and then and when a person goes over 100,000, I like to use numbers, because I think a good target for a new person is if I could just make 100, that would be a good starting point, you know. And I go, let me show you this new person. And a lot of times the people, they think I'm insulting them, but I go, don't worry about they think of you, just worry, it's boom with it. So I'll take a new $100,000 earner, he'd be on stage, you go, I'm so great, and I go, let me just show you his numbers. Let me show you how pathetic it really is. He's got 2 producing directs, and he writes like 3 or 4 sales a month. You realize how little this person, this individual is really doing? And people go, wow, I didn't realize that these people were doing so little. In their mind, they're thinking $100,000 earners. The first time I went on an appointment with Chris Howard, I was 15 minutes into the presentation. I go, I'm going to be rich because this guy's not that good. And so I wanted to take over the presentation. Because I go, Chris, that Rule 72, I don't think you explained it. Right? Chris goes, you're the trainee. Let me do my part of it. And I'm like, I wanted to take over, you know? And so I think Chris, that, I don't know if you did it purposely or by whatever.
No, he didn't do it purposely.
He got me believing I can do this business. You know? He put some stuff up on the screen that half the words were spelt wrong.
He was just here 2 weeks ago, he still does that.
Oh, yeah. Even with spell check.
All the English majors were freaking out because all the words were wrong. He doesn't even bother with spell check.
Bill Little once in the office, and he tried his best at spelling Baton Rouge. He was unbelievable. It was unrecognizable.
But he's got a red ring.
So I go,
Don't shoot yourself today.
I go, we're not that good. Don't put us in something. We're not that good. We might look good to you, but when it comes down, we're not really anything. So that's
great.
That's a great point.
And I got a special question for you. You know, you and Brent obviously work together in the business, and a lot of people out there, maybe not a lot, but there's a certain segment of the people out there that use the business sort of as an excuse, or I'm sorry, use their family as an excuse not to do the business. I mean, y'all got 7 kids, you know, combined together, and obviously you work every day to get in the business. I mean, how would you overcome that objection, where people say, well, you know, I got my family, I don't want to take time away from them and all that sort of stuff. And yet you and Brendan obviously, you know, got a big family, and you certainly didn't use that as an excuse. How would you, for the people out there, how did you would help them overcome that objection that where people use their family as an excuse not to do the business, when obviously we know their family should be the excuse to do the business? How would you tell the folks out there to do that?
Okay, well, I mean, I try and talk to people about the role of a partner, and I know there's a lot of fabulous partners here today, and why it's so important. So I kind of try to paint the picture why. This is what will happen if you embrace the role, and then we can talk about how to make it work with your family. And so, you know, I'd say, look, you know, if you show up to meetings, if you can work your schedule out so that you can get a sitter, right? Come to your home. I always told them I try not to disrupt my kids' lives as much as possible. So I try to get someone to come to our house instead of taking them, you know, dragging them around. And if you can get them twice a week, if you could do it at every opportunity meeting and every Saturday training or whatever your meeting schedule is, right? And it's certainly, obviously, every big event, that you can be present, you can be there, you can know what's going on, you're on the same page, you're learning the same ideas. You can contribute so much. People think that a husband and wife, or, you know, 2 partners have the same market. They don't. They know people individually that the other one wouldn't have any idea of. And I see this happen a lot with partners on our team. And until one gets involved, they don't really contribute, right? They just kind of go through the motions a little bit. They say they're helping a little bit, but when they really get engaged, they're setting appointments, they're bringing people, they're helping. You know, and they might not be in the field, they might not even get a license. I don't even say that's necessary. If they want to, wonderful. But if they can be engaged so that they feel like it's their business too, you know, so I kind of paint that picture first, right? And say, look, the biggest reason really is the example that you're going to set for all the partners on your team, because if you don't show up, they won't show up.
I think that's true.
And if you might be strong enough, you might have a great marriage, you might be, you know, your husband might go, or your wife, whoever the lead agent is, they might be fine and strong enough to get through without you. Now, not typically, though, I would say, right? But even if you say that's the case, that's not going to be the case for all these people on your team. And when they go through a discouraging patch, and they, you know, they have a hard time, that husband or wife at home, that spouse at home, is not going to be ready to build them back up and sell the dream to them again, and to say, hey, no, you can't quit. This is our future, right? This is our family on the line. And if you don't show up, you can't influence those partners to make sure that they always show up and be engaged. And I can tell you, like with this new awesome little base shop we've got going, the partners are, every one of them are there.
Awesome.
Every one of them, actually, we haven't even said you have to get licensed. They all just did. I mean, and they all show up to every training.
So
They've got babysitters.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say, it's an attitude. It's definitely an attitude of how you project to those people, what's in it for them. Because I really do think if we can get people to understand what's really, a little bit of a selfish moment, what's in it for them ultimately, the partner, that they will then become more engaged, and they won't use that as an excuse anymore.
And then you can help them develop a practical solution. How do you handle it with your kids? What do you do? And you have to have a little support system, and you can help them talk through that and say, well, who could you have help you with, if your son's got a baseball game this night or if something's going on, and you can decide what's the right thing for your family, but you really need to be engaged, And then I always talk to them about the benefits for their family and how amazing it is to put your kids and it is a family business, like Richard and Mindy and us were talking about last night, what an amazing environment for your kids to grow up in, and the positive influence they have. Our kids they just love to have people over at our house. They know all the $1 million earners' names. They know when we took our sons to the convention last time, they were so excited to meet everyone. We couldn't get them to go to bed that night because they were wanting to talk till 4 o'clock in the
Why
morning.
don't you tell the story when Brendan was like 9, we saw him in the middle of the night.
We've taken the kids on the company trips, right? And they just love the environment. So one time, little Brendan, who's not little anymore, he's getting married in a few weeks actually, but we took him on a trip. He's probably 10 years old, and he's a numbers guy, just like his dad. And so he calls up Bobby Buisson. He realizes in Cancun that Bobby is in the same hotel. And he calls the hotel operator and he says, I talked to Bobby Buisson. He puts him through his room, and it's like 10, maybe 11 o'clock at night. And he goes, oh, this is Brendan Merton's son. I just want to know how big your bonus was last month. Bobby, we didn't know about this. He was blown away. We see him in the elevator the next day, and he tells us about it. We're like, oh my gosh! But they really have come to embrace the business. And that's why if our kids want to work with this, what does that say about it? Mm-hmm. They want the lifestyle, they want the environment, the friendship, the association. Love what Richard said about hanging around the right people. That's what it's all about, and it is really shown in their decisions and the goals they have for their life and the things they've already even done at this point.
Awesome. Well, folks, thank you so much for your comments. That was awesome. Let's give you a